Ron, and it was nice to be there.
All right, so I think we're ready to start. Sorry for the delay. We had to delete some stuff off the memory card, so it took a few minutes. So I'm Jesse Sims. I'm the chair of Tech Talk, and we have Linda Kicker here who helps out as well. She does a great job. Thank you. There's a sign-in sheet we'll send around if you haven't got a chance to sign it yet. There's donuts we'll also send around if you haven't had a chance to get one yet. So today we actually have a double feature. We have Luke Miller speaking first for Prenda, talking about what's new in coding. And then in the second half, from 11 to 12, we have Solus UK, which does an app, a library app, and they'll be coming in to demonstrate the app that they have. So that's what we have in store for today, so I will go ahead and turn it over to Luke.
Well, thanks everybody. I'm excited to be here. Thanks Jesse for the invitation to come. He asked if I would just come and share what I'm seeing in library land concerning coding and coding programs. And specifically, I'm going to take like a kid-centric focus because that's what my experience is. Disclaimer from the beginning, I don't see myself as the authority or an expert by any means on coding in libraries. We, Prenda, help libraries run code clubs. We've got code clubs running in like 33 states right now. And so I have like a bird's eye view of what's happening, but I'm not going to try to like make predictions and say this is where we're going or this is the new hot thing or anything like that. I'm just going to kind of through a little bit of storytelling and a little bit of insight of what we've learned, just share some of that stuff with you guys and have some fun with it. So with that in mind, I am Luke Miller. I'm the head of code clubs here at Prenda. I'll share a little bit about me so you get to know me. This is my wife Lauren and my son Levi. Levi is 2 now. From the age of like 3 months to probably 18 months, he loved vacuums. I don't know if that's normal, but you know, we instead of like getting him a toy vacuum, we're like, here, we'll just turn it on and you do your thing. And so he's like our little vacuumer. He's about 2 now, so he's a little bit bigger than here. But we got one on the way also, a girl, and she's going to be here in beginning of August. So our life is about to get turned upside down again. Woo! Yeah, so let's start with a little bit it's a small group, so we can have a little bit of interaction. So I'm going to modify this question, but let's actually just go around the room and share our answers. Instead of just book, if you want to share your book, feel free to do that. But for us, maybe it'd be cool, what video game are you also playing right now? So I'll start. I am reading on the Hoopla app, or listening I should say, to a book called The Divine Dance. And it's by Father Richard Rohr. He's a Catholic monk, and I'm not Catholic, so it's very interesting to hear his perspective, and I'm appreciating it a lot. I actually don't play a lot of video games, so I don't have anything to answer for that. Let's go here.
Hi, I'm Keith. The book I'm listening to on Overdrive, I just finished about an hour ago, is Surveillance Capitalism. So basically Google, Facebook.
That's got a good review. Is it as good as they say?
What's that?
It's got a great review.
It's good. It's a little textbooky. He goes deep into some. It's not an easy read or easy listen, put it that way.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. And video games, I really don't play many video games. Also, other than with my family, I do some Pokemon Go.
Nice! Pokemon Go!
Yeah, so that's probably the only.
In which library are you at?
Phoenix. I'm here. I'm at Mesquite Branch.
Okay.
I do coding classes there.
Alright, cool, thanks.
I'm Chris Garrett from the State Library. I'm going to flip it. I should probably read more for them, but I don't. I get bored. But video games, let me tell you. I've been playing 4 different ones, I think, right now. If anyone has Steam games, then you probably had about another 30 others that you bought intending to play and then never actually did. But I don't know, I've got still playing Fallout 4, Divinity Sin Original 2, Yakuza 0, I don't know, for stuff.
Sweet.
I am Jeff. Let's see. I just finished Sleeping Beauties, and I'm playing Borderlands pre-sequel and Zelda Breath of Wind.
Cool, thanks.
Robert, over at Iron Branch, and the last book that I finished was Stamina of Doubt by Doug Sadler. Been reviewing that one. And then I'm currently trying to grind my way through World of Final Fantasy, so.
Whoa, cool.
I'm Jane Austin. I come from the Desert Run Phoenix Library. I currently am reading because I'm testing right now for CompTIA. I'm doing the A+ certification. I'll be
Nice.
testing next week.
Awesome.
I'm also in school and I work 2 jobs, including a job
Whew.
at the library.
How are you here right now?
I'm busy. Actually, my boss told me to come. She's like, you need to relax a little bit. I'm technically there, but here.
Yeah.
She said, you need to go be amongst your people, talk tag, and do your thing. She's like,
That's
just
awesome.
relax. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
cool. Did you say your name's Jane Austen?
it is.
I am.
It
You're
is.
made for this.
My customers love it.
That's awesome.
My name's Aaron Rosted. I work at Peoria Public Library. The book we're reading right now is The West Blizzard of Melancholy Cove.
Oh, I love that book.
Still feel bad for that ass. And the game I'm playing right now is Red Dead Redemption
Oh, nice. Cool. Heard good things.
2. It's fun.
I'm
Yeah.
Kathleen Sullivan, I work here at the Phoenix Library, I came because Linda told me I had to, and, I don't play video games, well, unless you count word chums on my
That
phone.
counts. Totally counts.
I love word chums on my phone, and,
Is Word Chums a competitor of Words with Friends?
yes, it's a Scrabble program, and it's lots of fun.
You
and-
probably played randomly with my mom.
So, what I'm listening to right now, because I much prefer to listen to books than to actually read them, is Rising Strong as a Spiritual Practice by Brenda Brown. It's hysterically funny.
Yeah.
At the same time, it says a lot about resiliency
Yeah.
and being able to know when you're stuck
Yeah.
and what to do about it. So I'm really enjoying it. I think about 15 people I'd like to send it to.
Yeah.
But none of them use CDs anymore, so I'm not quite sure how to send it to them.
Yeah. Brene Brown's TED Talk was so powerful. I don't know if you listened
No,
to
I
that.
haven't yet.
She's just blowing up right now. Like the message that she has to share is so relevant.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's cool. Thanks.
My name is Dr. Hofford, I'm from Scottsdale Public, and I'm listening to the BC Boys book.
Nice.
Yeah, but you don't get the pictures, so.
No
Yeah,
pictures.
they talk about the pictures on the audiobook, and I'm like, I can't see that. What are you talking about? Well, this is my favorite photo. Oh no, this is my favorite photo. And I'm like, I can't see that. And
That's
it's
hilarious. Yeah, thank you.
My name's Andy Burgoyes. I'm also at Scottsdale Public. So I just finished rereading what's become a favorite of mine, The Long Ships, by a guy named Franz Bengtson. So I recommend that one. And I've been playing a lot of The Division 2 and Stardew Valley on my tablet, because now there's an Android Stardew Valley. So.
I don't know either of those. Never heard of either of those.
Oh, okay. The Division 2 is a successor to The Division, as you probably gathered. You're going around like DC with other people.
Yeah.
Tom Clancy's.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Got
I have a couple friends that were willing to get it. So
Yeah.
like it's mostly an avenue to like talk while
Okay.
we, blow
Yeah.
things up.
Good
But
friends do.
Stardew Valley, I highly recommend Stardew Valley. It's it's on like any platform, like you can literally now do it on your phone, anything. But you become a farmer. Like you have a job that you really don't like, and then someone leaves you a farm, and so you go. You have to build it up. You can make friends with people in the town. You can raise animals. You can do that. It has really nice writing. And it was all made by one guy, which is a real rarity.
Yeah.
These days. It was a big project, and
Yeah.
there's a book about him making it. So
Okay.
yeah, it all loops back around there.
So the farming thing, does that mean you're not long for Scottsdale?
No, digital farming is really fun.
Right.
Horrible part of it that you want to part. So yeah, no, I don't. No, yeah.
Yeah.
My children do wake me up by 6 a.m. every day, so maybe I'm already halfway.
Right.
That's awesome. Thanks.
I'm Jesse Sims with Buckeye Public Library System. The last book I read was Goodnight Gorilla because I have a 3-year-old and I read it every single night.
Yes.
And I don't really play video games, mostly because I have a 3-year-old. And I'm in school as well as working full time, so I don't really have a lot of free time to play video games.
All right, thanks, Jesse.
And I'm Linda from Phoenix, and the next book I will listen to is, I believe it's called Don't Make Me Pull Over. And it's memoirs about road trips, and my family has always done road trips. And we're going on a vacation this summer, but we're flying, otherwise we'd be listening to it on our road trip.
Yeah, I have fond memories of family road trips as kids listening to the Marx Brothers or Sherlock
that would
Holmes.
be, yes.
Yeah, that was what my parents were into.
Yep.
Yeah, cool. Thanks, Linda. All right, that was great. I'm going to skip the next one. I just want to share a little bit about our story so you have some context for what I'm going to share today. Prenda, we started in 2013. Kelly Smith and Andy Jennings, myself, we started as volunteers at the Mesa Public Library. And Kelly had an 8-year-old son, and he said, hey, I really want my son to learn how to code, and I might as well invite the neighborhood kids as well. And Kelly's background, he has a master's from MIT in nuclear physics, and he's like a techie kind of nerd. But if you met Kelly before, I know Chris has, Jesse, I think you have, some others of you probably have. He's like a cool nerd though. So he was like, I want to invite the other kids in the neighborhood. So he went over to the Mesa Library and he said, hey, I want to do this thing. Do you guys have any room that I could use? And so they led him upstairs to this room in the back corner, and, you know, the room that kind of has a smell to it. Like, I think every library has one. Maybe not Burton Bar, but every normal library has that room. So they put him in there and they said, here, use this room and do whatever this coding thing is. And they didn't really know much about it at that time. So we started doing Code Club, and we invited the kids, and we did everything wrong that you can do at first. And we learned a lot in those early years. And eventually it blew up. We had 50 or 60 kids come into Code Club every week. And this is like in downtown Mesa, which is a relatively low income area. So we had all these kids who weren't getting this opportunity anywhere else in their life, coming to the library, learning how to code, having fun with their friends, and it was so much fun. We had other librarians at the time stopping by and saying, hey, this is really interesting. I like what you guys are doing. Can you come like do it for us? And we all had day jobs, and so we're like, no, like, you do it, go do it. It's not that hard. Yeah, but they were like, no. We don't know how to code. We can't run a code club. We don't know how to code. So we quickly realized that the big barrier to libraries running code clubs is that most librarians don't know how to code. Or at least they don't consider themselves an expert. Maybe they took a little bit of HTML in library school, but they don't consider themselves an expert in coding. Now, if you're in this room, you may be the exception to the rule, right? But generally, most librarians don't consider themselves experts, especially when you start thinking youth or teen librarians, right? So these librarians were like, no, we're not going to run a code club. So we said, okay, what if we made some software? And the software will lead the kids through a learning journey. The software will kind of become the subject matter expert. You don't have to know how to code anymore, because the software is going to lead them through tutorials, it's going to lead them through project opportunities. It'll take them from not knowing anything to being able to make websites and video games and apps and animations and all that stuff. So we made this software, and then we went to these librarians and we said, here, we have this software. And they're like, that's cool, but no, I'm not going to do it. They were still too scared. They didn't feel qualified. They didn't feel like they could do it. And so what we ended up doing is we said, okay, we're going to train you on this model that we've developed on how Code Club runs. We're going to walk alongside of you as a friend and a partner. We're going to provide coaching and support and all of that stuff, and we're going to give you the software. Now will you run a Code Club? And finally, that was like the magic combination, and they said, yeah, we'll do it. If you do all those things, if you train us ahead of time, if you walk alongside of us as a friend, and if you give us the software, we will run a Code Club. So at that point is when we kind of saw, oh, this could actually be something. So we had a couple of libraries starting to use it. We started to train them, starting to support them. We also still had day jobs in the meantime. And the first big thing that happened was that we won 2 grants. One grant through the Arizona State Library. Chris was a big part of that. He was actually our main contact with Arizona State Library. And we won a grant through the Utah State Library to run Code Club. I think Arizona was 2 years, and it was 10 or 15 libraries each year, something like that. and Utah was 1 year and it was 10 libraries for that 1 year. So we all of a sudden went from like day jobs, doing our own thing, doing this on the side, helping 1 or 2 other libraries doing it, to having like 35 libraries that we were helping run code clubs for. And we learned a lot. This was in 2016, 2015, 2016, something like that. I'm looking to Chris because he might remember better than.
Yeah, I think it was like 14, 15.
14, 15 was the first year? Okay. So 14, 15 is first year. And all of a sudden we're like, oh, we could actually like do this. We could actually turn this into a business and begin helping more libraries run this. And we got, at that time, just super passionate about the cause. And you guys all know the cause. You know the impact that STEM has on kids. And you know that they don't have a lot of opportunity. There's not a lot of coding education programs that are happening in schools. The statistic is 1 in 4 schools has any kind of computer science program in it. And so where are these kids going to learn how to code? Where are these kids going to have the opportunity to interact with this stuff so that in the future they can get the jobs that are out there? They say there's going to be 1 million unfilled computer programming jobs by the year 2020. And the life skills like problem solving and critical thinking. You guys know it. You get it. This is old news for you. So we got really passionate about that, and we said we want to get this in front of as many kids as possible. So we turned it into a business, and we refined the product. We got better at it, and that's what we've been doing since then. Right now, I guess I had some pictures to show. This is that room, Mesa Public Library, Mesa, Maine. Some of you guys have probably been there. And this is where we're at now. We're 33 states or something like that. We've had over 15,000 kids come through the program. We've trained hundreds and hundreds of librarians who knew nothing about coding. These are primarily youth, teen, and adult services librarians. We're in a lot of rural communities. It works really well in rural communities. And we've got a couple hundred active code clubs that are up and running around the country right now. So we're not large by any means. The map makes it look a lot better than it is. If we did pinpricks, you would see, oh, they're not actually that big. But we have a lot of room to grow. We're having a lot of fun doing it. So we're kind of in these early stages of growing and scaling a product that is really solving a problem and serving libraries around the country. So that's our story. So what I want to share with you guys today is just a mixture of stories and research that we've done and things we've heard from the field about what's happening in coding in libraries. Some of it may be new, some of it may not be new for you, but my hope is that by the end of the day it's helpful, it's encouraging, it gives you some practical stuff that you can take away. By a quick show of hands, who is involved at a local library with doing some kind of coding program? All right, about half of you. Cool. Who's interested in doing some kind of coding programming for your local library? Okay, cool. So in January, we decided that what we did is we ran our numbers for 2018, and we realized that while we grew by like 63% that year, we lost like 30 customers that year. So it was like we grew a bunch, but we could have grown a lot more if we didn't lose these customers. And so we really had to sit down and ask some hard questions, like why is the product not working for people? What are the challenges that we're running up against, and how can we solve those problems? So we launched a big research project, and we did like one-on-one interviews with many of our most successful code clubs, and some of our code clubs that we knew were struggling, and some customers who had already left us and had decided it wasn't working anymore. And we approached it very scientifically, and we tried to figure out what makes a successful code club. What are the factors involved in that? And so there's a whole report, and I've actually put the link on here if you just want to copy that real quick and jot it down. I don't know if we can send out these slides afterwards or something, but you guys, I'll make that link available to you. If you want to read through the whole report, you're welcome to, but what I wanted to skip to were some of the things that we heard that successful libraries are doing around the country. Some of the really practical nuts and bolts tactics that successful libraries are taking to make their code clubs successful. And how do we measure success? Kids come back, kids learn how to code, it changes their lives, right? That's success. Some best practices, and some of these are going to sound super simple. Snacks. In many of our most successful code clubs, librarians are offering snacks as a part of their program. And there's been a great debate about, well, how do you do snacks with computers? And I don't know. I'm not in the room, so I don't know how to do that. But there's a way. Apparently there's a way. So don't worry about it. Do snacks. Snacks help. Showcase events. Showcase events are something that we at Mesa Maine started doing early on, and it's basically a show and tell. We let the kids come plug in their computers and put it on a projector or a big TV and show off what they've made. And what we learned, it's the equivalent to an orchestra concert. It's the equivalent to like the kids' opportunity to show all of the work that they've been putting in over the whatever amount of time. So we encourage every library now to do these a couple times a year, at least. Some libraries do it more regularly. Some do it like once a month, but at least I want to say like at the end of your fall programming, at the end of your summer programming, if your summer session's long enough, and at the end of your spring programming. Just set aside an entire code club and do a big show and tell and have the kids sign up. But it gives, not only is it rewarding for them to like show off their project and say, look, this is what I made, and you maybe their family and friends are out in the audience and they get showed off. We've even had like local politicians come out and do a photo op with the kids. I guess it looks really good for them or something. But it's a cool opportunity. Not only do they feel really good in that moment, but all of those weeks leading up to the showcase event, it's like a carrot that you can dangle in front of them, and you can say, look, you got to have something ready to show in the next couple of weeks. And that's going to motivate them to continue to learn. We're always trying to figure out new ways to motivate these kids so that they engage in our learning model. And so showcase events have proven to be very helpful. Code Club competition. We kind of did this at Buckeye last year. It's kind of a showcase event, but we had a panel of judges and we graded the kids and we had some awards to give away. So we did something like that. It's a variation on a showcase event. We've heard other libraries doing more like direct competition, like you team up and you team up, and then at the end we'll like put it together and see who wins. And so there's things like that that make it more interactive and engaging. Coding for boomers. This is something that a library is doing. We actually have, I'll talk more about this in a little bit, but we have a lot of adult code clubs that are popping up around the country. And so what happened in Coding for Boomers is that they actually had the kids from their code club in the room with the boomers, and the kids were there to help when the older adults got stuck. And so they kind of flipped that on its head, and it was a lot of fun. I thought that was a really cool thing that it was all organic. We don't direct any of this stuff. We have like our outline and it's pretty simple, but then you guys, librarians, are taking it and adapting it and doing stuff like this. That's just amazing. So sports has always been a hard thing to compete against as a library program. And it's difficult, especially for the older kids, like junior high and older. How do we get kids in the library if they have competing things during the week? So some libraries are doing weekend code clubs, and that has been really successful for them. If they know that they're competing against sports in town and they switch it to a Saturday, then their attendance generally goes up. Off-season clubs, so like in the holiday gaps or in the gaps when other things aren't going, then they'll run like a short session of code club where kids can come and join in them just to engage and attract those kids who otherwise wouldn't be able to come. And then this like generate parent interest. We've had a lot of code clubs before they even start their program. They're hosting like an open house. So they have some computers set up, they have some robots set up, and they invite the community to come in and kind of get a taste for what they're about to do before they actually launch their code club. They have a sign-up sheet. If you're interested, let us know, and we'll let you know when our code club is starting. So that's also proven to be pretty helpful. I'll just say too, with this, our general model is a come and go model. So because it's software led, it's not like Google CS First or Girls Who Code, where everybody's working on one thing 1 week, everybody's working on lesson 2 on week 2. Ours is a free-for-all. So we've got, by the end of your first code club, you'll have all kids in all different parts of the software working on stuff that's actually interesting to them, and they get to go at whatever pace they want to go at. And so with that, we can do a really easy come and go model. So we've got kids who will come for a couple weeks and they can't come, or we've got kids who come for 6 weeks and then soccer starts up and they can't come for a while, but then they come back after that. And it lends itself to that model really well already. So that's not in here because that's our normal model, but that has worked really well, a come and go model, as opposed to you must be here 12 weeks and commit ahead of time. That's a big ask for kids. So what we found was that there's 2 factors, overarching factors that will determine whether your code club is successful or not. The first one is the facilitator. Is the facilitator the right person? Early on, we had a lot of libraries who would task their IT person to be a code club facilitator, because they're like, hey, you kind of know computers, you do code club. And the IT person would get in this room with kids and they're like, I don't know what to do. And it wasn't the right fit. In those code clubs, we saw many of them fail. And it was sad, and every time a code club fails, it hurts. But what we learned was that the important thing that we're looking for in code club facilitators is, can they be a cheerleader, a mentor, and a facilitator? Right? Can they give a high five and a fist bump? Can they create the right emotional atmosphere for kids to learn something new? When kids are want to throw in the towel and they're frustrated, can the librarian encourage them to not give up? Stick in there. You got this. I believe in you. Stuff like that. When they get stuck, can the librarian, even if they don't know the answer, most of the time our facilitators don't know the answer, right? Even so, when the kids get stuck, can the facilitator say things like, did you try Googling it? Did you ask your friends? They can facilitate and point them in the right direction without just telling them the answer. So the big question is, can the adult do that thing? Can the librarian do that thing? If not, your code club's probably going to fail. The second thing we learned is your code club fun? Is it social? Are you creating a community in that room? If yes, your code club's probably going to succeed. If no, if everybody shows up and they put in headphones and it's independent, individual work, your code club's probably going to fail. They can do that at home. There's no reason for them to come. We believe that the kids are actually going to learn better in a community setting. And so we create, in our software, the way that we train people, it's all about creating a fun, engaging environment where kids are collaborating with each other. They're solving problems together. They're having fun together. So the more fun you can have in Code Club, the better. Those are the overarching principles in all of that stuff. So how do we make it more fun? How do we increase Code Club engagement? We had one library in Jaffrey, New Hampshire, who every week they've got a TV screen and they dedicated a coder of the week. If you're doing good, if you show up on time, if you're a good kid, you get to plug in your computer and code all day on the big screen. And they loved it. It's so simple. It's just a small thing, but they did it and the kids loved it. It was awesome. Holiday themed coding, you guys probably saw the Santa tracker from Google, stuff like that. It's just fun. You get to incorporate what's happening in the real world. Small competition, added robots. We'll talk more about robots in a little bit. Separating older and younger kids. I don't feel super strong about this one because I've seen it work both ways, where you have all ages together, 8 to 18, and then I've seen it work where you have youth and teens. So take that one with a grain of salt. There's other things, Scratch Junior. If you have kids who can't read, in our code club in Mesa, our software that we wrote, the software that we give to libraries, is designed for kids who can read. We always have kids show up who can't read. And so we've got Scratch Junior and Swift Playground on a couple iPads, and if they can't read, we just put them on those. They're free apps. And they get to be a part of the community, they get to be in the room with their brothers and sisters, and it's really cool. So we've seen that work really well. Low tech, no tech variations, I'll talk more about that in a minute. Just other ideas here, I'm not gonna spend a lot of time. Escape room, Minecraft stuff, just anything that's popular that you can incorporate into your code club that seems to work really well. All right, so let's talk about some trends that we've seen happening just briefly. Those are like tactical, just stuff that we learned from that research project. I wanted to share that with you. Geographically, when we started off in suburban communities. We were in Mesa, we were in Maricopa County, and those seemed like the people who could afford a product, and they seemed like the places where kids were actually interested in coding. What we've seen in the last year is amazing. Our customer base has shifted to probably 70% rural communities, 70% communities where like population 30,000 or less. And why is that happening? Well, because in rural communities, they don't have any options. If you dig into that statistic, about 1 in 4 schools offers some kind of computer programming program. What you learn is that most of those are in affluent communities. And so in these rural communities, they have nothing. They're much larger misrepresented in that statistic. So we have found like this hunger, this need. These people are just, these librarians are passionate about like, what are our kids going to do in the future? There's no opportunities here. We have nothing, right? The only job opportunities in the future is to work at the Dollar General, and we want something better for our kids. And so they do it. They like find the money, they put in the work, and they're doing it. I've got a dozen stories I could tell you. I'll tell you just a couple off the top of my head. Magdalena, New Mexico. It's a teeny tiny town. I think population is like 3,000 or something like that. And this librarian, she doesn't do email, she just texts me when she has problems. It's great, I love her, she's awesome, and she is so passionate about it that she said, I'm actually quitting at the library, but I'm gonna find the funding, and then I'm gonna come back and run the program every week, and I'll be here, so don't worry about that. And she's been doing it now for a couple months. She's got like 12, 13 kids that are coming every week. There's some other guy who does like a STEM camp, and he walks them over from the other street over to her library, and they like make a big day of it. And they do it every week, and it's amazing. She's like doing it in small town New Mexico. In Sierra Vista, there's the Huachuca City Library, which is mostly like military community, still a small town. They have the problem where they have too many kids. They like have more kids than computers. They like don't have any money to buy snacks for their kids, so they're trying to figure out how do we our kids are coming right after school, they're hungry, how are we going to help them? They're figuring it out, they're doing it, and these kids are coming and learning how to code, and it's going to change their life. They're going to have all these opportunities that they wouldn't have had otherwise. So we're really excited about this rural thing. We get really passionate about it. Last year, in 2018, we won a grant through IMLS that we're calling Code Clubs in Small and Rural Libraries. Very creative name. But we won it with North Dakota State Library, Linda Braun, Crystal Martin, and us were the people on the grant. And we're delivering Code Club, we're just delivering our product, training, software, and support to 50 of the smallest and most rural libraries. So we opened up applications, we had 50 spots, and we had over 350 libraries apply for it. There's like hunger and demand for this stuff in these small communities. And as of today, I think we have 49 of them up and running. We're waiting, we had one who had staff turnover and they had to push it way back, but almost all of them are up and running today. So here's some social media posts from them. By the way, we have a private Facebook group called the Code Club Community. It's not just Prenda people, it's open to anybody. So if you guys are running code clubs and want to be in an online community, let me know and I can send you the link for that. So these are all small town code clubs that have started in the last 6 months. So you see here, Bailey, I think she's in, shoot, I just looked this up yesterday. Nebraska, maybe? Anyway, look at all those kids. This is a small town librarian. She's actually the director. First Code Club starts in 40 minutes on butterflies. These people are terrified. They have no idea what they're doing, but they're so passionate about it, they're going to do it. This is another Code Club, Marshall County. There are 21 kids in their first Code Club. Every library had to be under 30,000 population. Many of them are under 10,000 population. This is in Jaffrey, New Hampshire. These are the ones that do the Coder of the Week thing. You can kind of see it here. They got the big screen set up and somebody's coding on that. Just got a homeschool group here, Hair Code Club. Just amazing stuff happening in small towns around coding. These kids have no other option, no other way that they can do this. So cool. I'll tell another story about Newtown. Newtown's in North Dakota. They're actually a reservation library, very small. Their building was like 1,200 square feet. I think in 2017, in the summer, it was like right after Trump was elected and he was threatening to cut funding to all IMLS funding. And so we did this, we called it the 1-for-1 campaign, and we said, every library that buys a code club, we're going to give one away to a small and rural library. And so we, over the summer, I think we sold like 5, so we had 5 free code clubs that we gave away. Newtown was one of the first ones, and their code club was so successful. They had all these kids come in, all these kids were learning new stuff, they were having fun with it. The kids actually decided their like 1-year free code club was coming to an end, and their kids decided that they were going to go like sit in on a city council meeting and ask for money. And so their kids went, they brought their laptops, and they showed the city council members what they made. City council members, they're like, jaws dropped, and they're like, what? This is happening at our library? They were so amazed. They're like, okay, not only are we going to pay the fee for Prenda, that's easy, we're going to give you a new library building. And they actually bought her a new building right on Main Street. She was in like this 1,200 square foot building, and they bought her this like 3,000 or 3,500 square foot building right on Main Street, and she got her own code club room now. They bought her a bunch of computers. Because Code Club, because it was so successful. It was amazing. And not only that, one of the other cool stories came out of Newtown also. They had, they're on an Indian reservation, so they have other challenges that many of us don't really understand, we don't relate with. So they had this kid who had kind of been, he's like 16 or 17, he'd been in and out of jail, and his life was just going nowhere, as many on reservations do. Their life doesn't have anywhere to go. So the kid comes to Code Club, and he just takes to it. He like gets it, and it makes sense. And the way his brain works, he's like enjoying it. And within a couple months, his like life begins to turn around, and he becomes the Code Club expert, and he's there like helping everybody else during Code Club. And all of a sudden, like this kid who had no hope, no future, has like learned how to code, and if he wants in months now, he could probably apply for a job in technology and get it. He's going to actually have those skills to do that. In Mesa, we had a couple 13, 14-year-old girls who come like regularly for a couple years, and they actually were at the skill set where they were building real websites, real apps, real animations, all of that stuff. I think if they wanted to, they could have dropped out of junior high school and made $60,000 that year. Now I know for you guys, 60,000 is nothing. You make 4 or 5 times that easily. But for us normal people, that's serious money. And I didn't encourage them to drop out of junior high, but they could have. They could have. All right, so that's just a little story there. Ages. I already mentioned this. It's not just kids anymore. We're seeing 2 demographics for adult code clubs. First of all, there's retirees. And these are people who like just want to keep their mind sharp, they want to get more comfortable with computers, stuff like that. And number 2, we're seeing people who are interested in a career change. Now, the code club at the library, I haven't seen many, ours definitely don't do this, and I haven't seen many other code clubs that actually are preparing adults for a career change. But what adult code clubs do is give them an opportunity to test the water. They can see, oh, this is what coding is, do I actually like this? And you're probably familiar with all of these boot camps, these coding boot camps that have popped up. Dev Mountain, Galvanize, just down the street does this. And they like train people in coding in like 6 months. And you can get a coding job, come to our like boot camp, in 6 months you can get a coding job. So they're doing all of that. And our program doesn't do that, but you have to have some baseline knowledge to get into Galvanize or Dev Mountain or any of the big coding boot camps. So code clubs at libraries are a great way to give adults the foundation and to let them test the water to see if that's a career change that they would like to make. I want to show just a short video here. This is from Maricopa County, Southeast Regional. This is one of the first adult code clubs they asked me to come over and help them plan an app.
So we've been taking Code Club through the library. We've decided we want to create an app. We want to get people outside. People can go over to the Riparian Preserve and do tours and look at points of interest. There will be a welcome section, and there will be a map, and they can click on points of interest and see a picture of the points of interest and see a written part of the written description of the points of interest.
We're finding that it's really helping us to focus a bit on continuing to improve not only our app skills, but also helping us to stay more focused with each other, on helping to educate each other.
Alright, so not the best video skills there. I'll take it on that one. But yeah, they're working on this app, and that was several years ago that I went over and helped them plan that out. But I have no idea if they finished it or not. I hope they did. All right, let's quickly go through kind of the rest of the ideas that I have here. Types of coding. I'm seeing a shift away from just computer-based coding and wanting to take what they're learning in computer-based coding and apply it to robots and hardware. So the popular robots that I'm seeing, you guys probably see different stuff than me, but Sphero and Ozobots are actually like where you actually have to code it. I hear the complaint a lot that there's like these STEM toys, but it turns out you just like use it like a remote and there's no actual coding that happens. So these ones I know that you actually do code with them. And for Prenda, we're working on adding curriculum around some of these new areas, and this is actually on a roadmap for this year because we see such a high demand to include some like physical products in the coding experience. So robots, hardware, we see Little Bits, we see Raspberry Pis, we see Makey Makeys as some of the big ones out there. All of these they're awesome devices. You guys have probably interacted with all of these. So yeah, we hear this a lot from people. We hear this a lot from our current customers as we talk to people who are interested in coding. And so I just think that this is something that people are going to be doing. No tech, low tech. Again, going kind of back to that younger demographic, but not exclusively them, the kids who can't read. I'm seeing like a desire to be able to do stuff away from the computer screen. Requests for like, hey, how can we do like an icebreaker or something that's still coding related, but away from the screen? Or what if I have a group of like 6 and 7-year-olds? What can I do with them? So we've started just a collaborative Google Doc where we're asking for people to contribute their ideas and add it to the doc, and it's just publicly available to anybody. So we've got a handful of ideas here, and we're going to keep adding to it as we go. Again, just jot down this link real fast, and you guys can go check that out yourself. As most of you probably know, Scratch has updated to 3.0. It's very cool. I'm digging it a lot. And then just generally, I want to say just I feel like there's a growing interest in coding in general. When we started in 2013, nobody had ever heard of it. No, in library world at least, it wasn't a thing. And as we've been in this world now for a handful of years, at the very beginning it was like convincing people, this is the future, this is what's going to happen, these kids are going to need this. And now we're at a point where pretty much everyone's heard of coding. Pretty much everyone knows that this is a thing, they know it's important in some way. There's still a lot of those original hesitations that they don't know how to code, how are they going to do it, stuff like that. But just as an anecdote, we've seen Pima County, they signed up all 26 of their libraries this year. They're going to run code clubs in every library in Pima County. Pima County spans from Tucson all the way to Ajo, super far south. It's a huge geographic region. A lot of big libraries and a lot of very small libraries too. So they see the need and they're pulling the trigger. Queens, New York. Queens, New York is going from, they've had one code club running and they're going to add 19 more this summer. So they have 66 locations total in Queens, so there's still a long way to go. But 20 is a big deal, and I'm seeing this as a trend where more and more people who are over systems are expressing interest in coding. Is there a question? Okay. And I think, yeah, I wanted to I don't know, Jesse, do you want to share a little bit? I kind of maybe stole your thunder. But if you want to share, you can. This is kind of my last slide. So.
Yeah, so just to talk a little bit about when we did the competition last summer.
Yeah.
And it was really cool to see because like you were talking about, it really does replicate that, going to watch your kid play sports, going to watch your kid in a music concert, so the parents came out. We had the judging panel, and there was one young lady who just like knocked it out of the park. She had a full-blown time travel alternate universe video game that she coded, and it was like a full playable game that she had been working on. So I think the good thing about that type of setup is it really kind of can motivate those kids that may be advanced. Mm-hmm. And then if you're not as advanced, it's still sort of the same motivation across for all the kids. So that was really successful for us in that type of program. And we had prizes, we gave out a Spiro, I think, for the first place winner. Mm-hmm. So overall it does really well. One thing, you did touch on it a little bit, the inclination can be to want to help them with every question they have. But a lot of it is, like you said, just the encouragement, Like I'm going to encourage for you to find the answer somewhere besides me. Because I could Google it, but that doesn't help them.
Yeah, that's part of our foundational model. Never answer a question in Code Club. There are no easy answers in Code Club. Code Club is a place where you have to wrestle with it and struggle with it, and the librarian will lead you through that process, but they're never going to tell you the answer.
Right.
Yeah, cool. I think we're down to the last couple of minutes, so I just thought it'd be cool to open it up for questions or discussion. Briefly, it doesn't have to be a question. If you guys are seeing stuff that you think the rest of us would be interested in, that'd be awesome.
So let me ask, so I run a couple code clubs and through Code Phoenix. So we use other software. We do Scratch for a few weeks, and we also do stuff through code.org. Do you have your own block software, or do you have your own program that uses some of those other software?
Yeah, so what we did, we decided early on that the free resources that are out there are awesome. Scratch is amazing. And we've seen companies build their own version of Scratch and it's not as good. And then they charge for it. And it's like, Scratch is way better. Why would you do that? Right. So what we decided is we're not going to build the platform itself. We're going to build the curriculum. We're going to build the curriculum, kind of a wrapper and curriculum around. We use Scratch, we use code.org, we use App Lab, we use Khan Academy, we've got a half dozen places that we send the kids.
Okay.
Yeah, good question.
Since I'm not a coder, what are questions that you get that you're not going to answer?
How do I do this JavaScript thing? How do I animate this flower?
That's what I was wondering.
How do I move them to the right? Well, you have to look, okay, the blue button is for motion. I think that's right for Scratch. Now, blue button is for motion. So, and then, do you know anything about X and Y axes? So, the X, you have to plus go this way, and minus would go this way. So figure it out. So basically add some X plus X's and minus X's and see what it does, and then add a couple blocks doing that.
So a lot of how-to.
What we teach our librarians, if a coder has a question like how do I move to the right, I would first ask them, what have you tried so far? And if they haven't tried anything, I'd say, go ahead and work on it for a couple minutes. If you can't figure it out, let me know and I'll come back and help you. So if they can't figure it out, they raise their hand again, and then I'll ask them, who else have you asked? So I'll deflect all the attention off me and get them to pair up with somebody else in the room, which is, by the way, the real world, right? So I'll pair them off with somebody else and they'll go solve that problem together. And then if they're still stuck after that, I'll say, okay, let's figure this out together. And let's figure this out together doesn't mean I hijack their mouse and keyboard and do it for them. And most of the time I don't know the answer, so I'm not just going to tell them the answer. But then I'll begin to model steps number 1 and steps number 2. I'll model rereading the instructions, tinkering, not getting frustrated when I get it wrong. I'll model asking somebody for help and explaining my problem and listening to their solution. All those life skills that are really valuable. Yeah, did you have something to add to that? Okay. Yeah,
And let me just throw in really quick, because you knew what AZ Strut was, but for the rest of you, if you haven't heard of it, AZ Strut's a nonprofit that basically teaches kids how to like fix laptops and computers and parts like that. So they fix all these laptops and they teach them and they put Linux on it. And I don't know what the policy is, I don't know why it was different with you guys, but Nicole Umayam, who works for us as our digital inclusion librarian, she's been working with AZ Strut, and they can't give us enough laptops. Like they just love it, take it. We've got, here's 50 laptops with Linux, take it. I mean, it is Linux. So obviously that's the thing, but coding, you don't have to have it. Yeah, and of course we've got, TechSoup, so it's not like you can't get cheap copies of Windows operating system licenses or Microsoft to put on it. So if you're in need of devices, I will talk to Nicole Umayam over with the state library, and she can help hopefully get you connected with AZ Strut for that. And of course, always apply for our LSTA sub-grants. In March, we just announced the winners for this year, and so I don't know if there was any coding or not, but it's always there.
Yeah, a lot of you represent systems that were some of our early customers, or at least part of the early Arizona State Library grant. And like I said, we did everything wrong at first. And we've learned a lot as we've gone, and we've figured out a model that works. And the places we're at now, I have a lot of confidence that what we do actually works. It actually changes kids' lives. All right, I think for time's sake, let's put a pin in it there. If you guys want to reach out to me, I've got a business card. Luke@prenda.co is my email. I'd love to help in any way. We've got our product thing, but beyond that, I do just tons of informal coaching, training, stuff like that. So don't hesitate to reach out to me if there's anything I can do to help in an unofficial way as well as an official way. So thanks a lot, guys. You guys are great. Thanks. Thank you.